The lecture hall was packed with young cadets, their crystalline bodies reflecting the soft lights of the galactic archives. Hana stood at the podium, her 6 limbs moving gracefully as she prepared her presentation. She was a Kavesh, an insectoid species known for their dedication to preserving history. Today, she would teach about the most dangerous myth in the galaxy. Today we discuss the human legend, Hana began, her voice translating through the hall's systems into dozens of languages. Many cultures have their monsters. The Vex have their shadow eaters. The Krill speak of void demons, but no myth has persisted quite like the tale of humans. She pulled up an image on the display behind her. It showed a bipedal creature, standing upright on 2 legs with forward-facing eyes and exposed skin. The cadets whispered among themselves. Some had never seen a human illustration before. According to the stories, humans came from a planet called Earth, a death world by our standards. Gravity too high, atmosphere too volatile, predators everywhere. The myths say humans evolved not as the strongest or fastest, but as the most stubborn. They simply refused to die. A cadet raised her tentacle. Professor Hana, why do we study them if they never existed? Hana smiled, or did the Kavesh equivalent of smiling. Because the myth teaches us something important. It shows us what happens when we imagine a species with no natural place in the universe, yet somehow survives anyway. The stories say humans could eat almost anything, heal from terrible wounds, and adapt to any environment. They say humans fought with a fury that terrified other species. She moved to the next slide, showing ancient text fragments. The legend claims humans destroyed themselves in something called a nuclear war around the year 2156 by their calendar. According to our records, this was over 600 years ago. No human has ever been found. No verified human artifacts exist in any museum. They are, simply put, fiction. Another cadet spoke up. But Professor, why would someone create such a scary story? Cautionary tales, Hana replied. The human myth warns us about the dangers of aggression, of refusing to accept limits, of fighting against nature itself. It teaches young warriors to know when to surrender, when to accept defeat, because in the stories humans never learned that lesson, and it destroyed them. She was about to continue when the hall's alert system activated. A sharp tone filled the space, and the display behind her flickered. The director of the archives appeared on screen, his 3 eyes wide with confusion. All personnel, we have received an unusual signal from Sector 7. The Forbidden Zones. It appears to be a distress call, but the language is... well, it's impossible. The director played the audio. Static filled the hall first, then a voice broke through. It was rough, desperate, speaking in sounds that Hana's translator struggled to process. But then words formed. Words she recognized from her studies. Please, anyone. This is Colony Ship Gyeongju. Life support failing. Need assistance. We are human. The hall erupted in noise. Cadets jumped from their seats, talking over each other. The director looked shaken on the screen. Hana stood frozen, her mind racing. It must be a hoax, the director said. Some students prank using old recordings. But Hana wasn't so sure. She had studied every known human audio file in the archives. This voice sounded different, real, raw, with actual fear and exhaustion. The lecture ended in chaos. Cadets filed out, laughing about the strange coincidence. But Hana remained behind, staring at the audio waveform on her personal device. She played it again and again, analyzing every sound. That night she couldn't sleep. Her quarters in the archives felt too quiet. She kept hearing that voice, the way it said, "We are human," with such tired certainty, like stating a simple fact that everyone should already know. By morning, she had made a decision. She went to the archives' restricted section, using her professor credentials to access files marked as classified. What she found made her antenna twitch with nervousness. There were reports, hundreds of them, all marked as hoaxes or mistakes. Sightings of human ships, signals in human languages, strange readings from the Forbidden Zones. All dismissed, all buried in archives where no one would look. The Forbidden Zones themselves were interesting. 7 sectors of space quarantined 600 years ago due to hazardous radiation. No ships allowed in, no exploration permitted. The official reason was safety. But the timing matched exactly when humans supposedly destroyed themselves. Hana dug deeper. She found that the Galactic Council had been the ones to declare the zones forbidden. No independent verification of the radiation had ever been allowed. Any ship that approached was turned away by Council military vessels. A terrible thought formed in her mind. What if the council was hiding something? What if humans hadn't destroyed themselves at all? She requested a meeting with the council's office on the station. They denied her. She tried again, citing academic freedom and the importance of investigating unknown signals. Denied again. That's when she decided to break the rules. Using her savings, Hana hired a small transport ship. The captain was a grizzled Vex named Velthar, who had seen every corner of the galaxy and feared nothing. His second in command was a young officer named Cross who seemed nervous but excited. "You understand this is illegal?" Velthar asked as Hana boarded. "The council doesn't like people poking around the forbidden zones." "I understand," Hana replied, "but I need to know the truth." Velthar laughed, a sound like grinding stones. "Truth. Every scientist thinks they'll find it in the last place they should look. Fine. Your money is good. But if council ships come after us, I'm dumping you in an escape pod." They departed that night, the station's lights fading behind them as they entered deep space. Hana sat in her cabin listening to the human distress call one more time. The voice sounded so tired, so human in its desperation. She had spent her whole career studying myths, teaching cadets about creatures that never existed. But now, flying toward the forbidden zones with her heart beating fast and her mind full of questions, Hana wondered if she had been wrong all along. What if humans weren't a myth? What if they were real, and someone had worked very hard to make the galaxy forget them? The ship jumped to faster than light speed, and Hana closed her eyes. In a few days, she would have her answer. She would either prove humans were just stories, or she would discover why the greatest warriors in galactic mythology had been erased from history. Either way, nothing would ever be the same. The journey to Sector 7 took 3 days. Hana spent most of that time reviewing everything she knew about humans, which suddenly felt like very little. Captain Velthar kept the ship running quietly, avoiding major shipping lanes. They couldn't afford to be noticed. "Approaching the boundary," Cross announced from the navigation station. "No council ships on sensors. We're lucky." "Luck has nothing to do with it," Velthar grumbled. "They're spread thin out here. Too much space, not enough ships. But stay alert. Our luck could change fast." Hana came to the bridge, her tablet clutched in her upper limbs. "The signal is stronger now. It's coming from deeper in the sector near what used to be called the Sol system." Velthar's 3 eyes widened. "Sol? That's the heart of the forbidden zone. The radiation there should kill us in minutes." "Should," Hana said softly, "but my readings show no radiation at all. Whatever reason they gave for closing this sector, it wasn't radiation poisoning." They crossed into Sector 7 without incident. No alarms, no deadly radiation, nothing but empty space and distant stars. Cross checked his instruments twice, then 3 times. "This is impossible," he whispered. "The readings are normal. Everything here is completely safe." Velthar's expression darkened. Then the council lied. They sealed off an entire sector of space for 600 years based on a lie. He looked at Hana. "Your myth is getting more real by the minute, Professor." They followed the signal for another 2 hours. It led them to a massive debris field, the remains of what must have been a fierce battle centuries ago. Broken ships drifted in the void, their designs unlike anything in current galactic databases. "There," Hana pointed. That large vessel still intact. The ship was enormous, built for long voyages. Its hull was scarred and damaged, but the basic structure remained sound. Strange symbols marked its side, letters in a language Hana recognized from her studies. Human writing. It spelled Gyeongju. "That's the ship from the distress call," she breathed. They docked carefully, Velthar's crew working with precision. The airlock systems on the human ship were old but functional. With some technical work, Cross managed to establish a connection. "Atmosphere inside is minimal but present," Cross reported. "Temperature is freezing. Power is almost gone. This ship has been drifting for a very long time." They entered in protective suits carrying lights to pierce the darkness. The corridors were strange, built for bipedal creatures. Everything was sized for humans. Signs on the walls showed directions in that angular human writing. Hana felt like she was walking through a museum, except everything was real. This ship had carried living humans once. They had walked these halls, touched these walls, lived and breathed in this space. "The distress beacon is coming from the lower decks," she said, checking her scanner. "The cryo-bay according to the ship's layout." They descended through dark stairways, the only sound their breathing and footsteps. The ship felt like a tomb. They passed rooms that must have been living quarters, a cafeteria, a medical bay. All abandoned, all silent. The cryobay doors were sealed. Emergency lights flickered weakly above them, powered by some backup system that refused to die even after all these centuries. Cross worked on the door controls while Hannah examined the writing on the wall. It says Final Hope Protocol, she translated. Below that, a date. Year 2159 by human calendar. That's 688 years ago. The doors groaned open. Cold air rushed out, even colder than the rest of the ship. The cryobay stretched before them, filled with rows of suspended animation pods, hundreds of them. Most of the pods were dark. Their systems failed long ago. Through the frosted glass, Hannah could see the shapes of humans inside, preserved in death. They had been trying to escape something, running for their lives, and they had almost made it. "Wait," Cross called out. "These 3 pods in the back. They're still active. The power cells are almost dead, but they're still running." Hannah rushed over. 3 pods, separated from the others, connected to a different power system. Through the frost, she could see 3 human faces. They looked peaceful, asleep, unaware that their entire species had been erased from history. "Can we wake them?" Hannah asked. Velthar shook his head. "Too dangerous. We don't know anything about human biology. The process could kill them." "They're already dying," Cross said quietly. "Look at the power readings. These pods have maybe a day left, 2 at most. After that, the systems fail and they die anyway." Hannah made her decision. "We wake them. We didn't come all this way to let the last humans in the galaxy die in the dark." It took an hour to set up. They connected portable power cells to the pods, studied the ancient control systems, and carefully initiated the wake sequence. Hannah's hearts beat rapidly as the pods began their cycle. Frost melted from the glass. Inside, the humans stirred. The first pod opened with a hiss. A human female sat up slowly, gasping. She had short dark hair and her skin was marked with scars. Her eyes opened, revealing a sharp, alert gaze even through the confusion. She looked around, saw the alien staring at her, and immediately reached for a weapon that wasn't there. "Easy," Hannah said, her translator converting her words to human language. "You're safe. We're here to help." The human woman stared at her, taking in Hannah's crystalline body and insectoid features. "What? What are you?" "I'm Kavesh." "My name is Hannah. You're on your ship, the Gyeongju. Do you remember?" The woman nodded slowly. "Dune, my name is Dune, combat medic, Final Fleet." She looked around. "Where is everyone? Where's the fleet?" Before Hannah could answer, the other 2 pods opened. A human male with a cybernetic arm emerged from one, looking around with sharp engineer's eyes. The other was a young female with a prosthetic eye that glowed faintly in the dark. "Teho reporting," the male said automatically. "Ship systems engineer." "Mira," the young female added. "Tactical officer." They looked at each other, then at the aliens, then at the dark cryobay. Dune stood on shaky legs, moving to the other pods. She wiped frost from the glass, looked inside, and her face fell. "No," she whispered. No. They're all dead. Everyone's dead." "What year is it?" Taiho asked, his voice rough from centuries of sleep. "How long were we under?" Hannah hesitated. "By your calendar, it's the year 2847. You've been asleep for 688 years." The 3 humans stared at her in silence. Then Daeun laughed, a bitter sound that echoed through the cryobay. 600 years, she said. "We ran for 600 years and we're still alive. We're very hard to kill." Mira sat down heavily. "Our family's Earth, the war. It's all ancient history now." "What war?" Hannah asked softly. The 3 humans exchanged glances. Taiho spoke first. "The swarm. They came to Earth, destroyed everything. We fought for 40 years before we evacuated. This ship was part of the final fleet, carrying refugees to a rally point in deep space." "The myths say you destroyed yourselves," Hannah said. "Nuclear war." Dune's laugh was harsh. "Is that what they told you?" "No, we didn't destroy Earth, the swarm did. We just couldn't save it." "Who is they?" Velthar asked from the doorway. "The Galactic Council," Mira said, her prosthetic eye focusing on him. "We sent them dozens of requests for aid. They ignored everyone, said Earth was too far away, too unimportant, too much trouble. They let us die alone." Hannah felt something cold settle in her chest. "The Council told us you never existed, that you were just myths and legends." Dayun met her eyes. "They erased us. Easier than admitting they left an entire species to die." In the darkness of the ancient ship, surrounded by the dead, Hana realized the truth. Humans weren't myths. They were something far more dangerous. They were witnesses to the Council's greatest shame, survivors of a genocide the galaxy had tried to forget. And now they were awake. The journey back to civilized space was strange. The three humans moved through Velthar's ship like ghosts from another time, touching everything with wonder and sadness. They had left behind a galaxy at war and woken to find themselves forgotten myths. Hana watched Daeun in the medical bay, studying her reflection in a mirror. The human woman traced the scars on her arms and face, each one a story from a war 600 years dead. "How do you feel?" Hana asked. Daeun turned, managing a weak smile. "Like I should be dead. Like everyone I ever knew is dust. Like I slept through the end of the world." She paused. "But I'm alive. That counts for something." In the engine room, Taiho had already dismantled half of Velthar's power systems and put them back together better than before. The captain watched with a mixture of amazement and irritation. "Your ship was barely functional," Taiho said, not looking up from his work. "These connections were degrading. You would have had a core failure within a month." "It was working fine for 20 years, Velthar grumbled. "It was working poorly for 20 years, Taiho corrected. Now it will work well for 100. Mira spent her time on the bridge, studying star charts with Cross. Her prosthetic eye glowed as it processed information, comparing the current galaxy to maps she remembered from before. "Everything has changed," she said quietly. "New borders, new species in council space, old enemies gone. The Vex used to be at war with the Krill. Now you trade with them?" Cross nodded. "Peace treaty 300 years ago. The galaxy has been mostly stable since then." "Stable," Mira repeated. "We would have given anything for stable." Hana recorded everything. She interviewed the humans, documenting their stories. The myths she had taught cadets were nothing compared to the reality. The battles they described made legendary wars sound like small conflicts. The enemies they had faced would give council admirals nightmares. "Tell me about the swarm," Hana asked Daeun one evening. The human woman was quiet for a long moment. "Imagine insects, but the size of ships. Millions of them, maybe billions. They didn't negotiate, didn't communicate. They just consumed. Planets, stations, everything. They came to our solar system when I was 10 years old." "You fought them for 40 years? "We fought them from the day they arrived until the day we evacuated. Every man, woman, and child who could hold a weapon fought. We lost billions, but we also killed trillions of them." Daeun's eyes were distant. "In the end, we didn't win. We just made them decide Earth wasn't worth the cost." "How did you survive so long?" Daeun met her eyes. "Because we're human. We don't know how to quit, even when we should." 3 days from the station, Hana noticed something about the humans. They healed incredibly fast. Daeun had cut her hand on a sharp edge in the cargo bay. The wound closed in hours, leaving barely a scar. Taiho's cybernetic arm had been damaged, but his body's immune system was already integrating repairs. Mira had gotten sick from the unfamiliar ship's bacteria, but recovered in a single night. "Is this normal for humans?" Hana asked. "The augmentations help," Daeun explained. "Military mods. They make us stronger, faster, harder to kill. But even baseline humans heal well. Evolution on a death world. You adapt or you die. The myths say humans could survive almost anything." Daeun smiled grimly. The myths probably weren't exaggerating. They were 2 days from the station when the pirates found them. 3 ships armed and aggressive, demanding they surrender cargo. It was common in deep space, Velthar explained. They would pay a bribe and move on. But the pirates saw the humans through a viewport. Word had spread on long-range communications. Living humans were worth a fortune to collectors, researchers, or anyone who wanted to prove the myths real. "Hand over the specimens," the pirate captain demanded, "or we'll take them from your wreckage." Velthar tried to negotiate. The pirates cut the channel and opened fire. What happened next would give Hana nightmares for years, but not because it was horrifying. Because it was beautiful in its terrible efficiency. Mira took tactical control, her prosthetic eye processing battle data faster than any computer. "Cross, move us 12 degrees port. Taiho, divert power from life support to shields. We can hold our breath." The humans moved like they had trained together for decades. In a way they had. 40 years of war had made them more than soldiers. They were weapons that thought. Taiho rerouted ship systems in seconds, creating power where none existed. Daeun grabbed emergency equipment and turned it into improvised weapons. Mira coordinated everything with cold precision. "Incoming fire, starboard," she announced calmly. "Dayun, take crew to safe room. Teho kill manpower in 3, 2, 1. The ship went dark. The pirates, thinking they had won, moved in close. Then Taiho brought systems back online, and Velthar's ship fired every weapon at point-blank range. One pirate ship exploded immediately. The other 2 ships retreated, firing wildly. Mira tracked their movements, predicting every dodge. "They'll circle left, try to hit our engines." Teho reroute emergency thrust to port thrusters. It shouldn't have worked. The ship wasn't built for combat. But with 3 humans working together, it became deadly. Dayan had found the emergency missiles, weapons Velthar didn't even know he had. She armed them manually, her augmented strength handling equipment that should have required machines. When the pirates came around, she fired. The second ship died in a ball of fire. The third ship ran. Mira tracked it with her prosthetic eye, but she didn't fire. "Let them go. Let them tell others what happens when you threaten humans." The bridge was silent. Velthar stared at his ship's controls like he had never seen them before. Cross was shaking. Whether from fear or excitement, Hana couldn't tell. "That was," Velthar started. "Necessary," Mira finished. Her young face was emotionless, but Hana could see the weight behind her eyes. "They would have killed you to get to us." "How did you do that?" Cross asked. 3 of you against 3 warships. Teho was already putting ship systems back to normal. We've faced worse. Much worse. This was actually easy. Hana realized something in that moment. The galaxy had spent 600 years telling itself that humans were myths. It was safer that way. Because the reality of what humans could do, what they had survived, what they had become in their war for survival, was terrifying. That night, Hana found Dayan sitting alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "Do you hate us?" Hana asked quietly. "The galaxy, I mean." "For abandoning you?" Dayan was quiet for a long time. "I did. For years, I hated every species in the council. We sent so many requests for help. We showed them what was coming. They ignored us." She turned to Hana. "But hate is heavy, and I've been carrying it for 600 years. I'm tired. What will you do when we reach the station?" "I don't know. Find out if any other humans survived. Try to build something new. Maybe warn the galaxy that the swarm doesn't stay gone forever." Dayon smiled sadly. "We're good at surviving, Hana. It's what we do." The ship moved through space, carrying its precious cargo of impossible survivors. Ahead, the station waited. Behind them, pirates would spread word that humans were real, that they were deadly, that the myths had teeth. Hana looked at Dayon, this warrior from another age, and understood. The galaxy hadn't forgotten humans to protect itself from human aggression. It had forgotten humans to hide from its own guilt. But now the truth was coming home, and nothing would ever be the same again. The station was chaos when they arrived. News of living humans had spread faster than their ship could travel. Thousands of beings crowded the docking bays, trying to catch a glimpse of creatures they had believed were only stories. Hana watched security forces struggle to maintain order. Camera drones filled the air. News broadcasters shouted questions in dozens of languages. The humans stood at the viewport, looking at the madness with weary eyes. "They treat us like attractions," Mira said quietly. "You're the first proof that an entire species existed," Hana replied. "To them, you're living history. We're people," Dayon said firmly. "Just people who happen to survive." The council sent an official delegation to meet them. 6 representatives from different species, all wearing formal robes and serious expressions. The lead representative was a krill named Vostek, his scales gleaming under the station lights. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, we welcome you," Vostek said. His voice was smooth, diplomatic. "Your survival is remarkable. We have many questions." "So do we," Dayon replied. "Like why the Council told everyone we never existed." Vostek's expression didn't change. "There were reasons. Complex political situations. The war with the swarm happened during a turbulent time. Records were lost." "Records weren't lost," Taiho said. "They were erased. We sent you dozens of requests for aid. You have those files somewhere." "Those are classified matters," another council member said quickly. "Not appropriate for public discussion." "Convenient." Mira's prosthetic eye focused on them. "You ignore us while we die, then hide the evidence." "Very convenient." The council members exchanged glances. Vostek cleared his throat. "For your safety and the station's security, we must request that you be quarantined." Just until we can verify you carry no unknown pathogens. You mean until you can figure out what to do with us, Dayun said. It's standard procedure, Vostek insisted. They were taken to a medical facility in the station's secure section. The rooms were comfortable but locked. Guards stood outside. Hana was allowed to stay as the humans' official liaison and translator, though they spoke Galactic Common perfectly after just days of practice. We're prisoners, Mira observed, testing the door lock. Guests, Hana corrected. Protected guests. Same thing, just prettier words, Dayun said. That night, Hana couldn't sleep. She went to the facility's research terminal and started digging through public records. Something Vostek had said bothered her. Records were lost. But Kavesh never lost records. They archived everything. She used her professor credentials to access the archive's deep storage. Buried under layers of classified tags, she found a file marked Incident 2156, Human Extermination Event. Her hearts froze. Extermination event, not war. Not extinction. Extermination. She read through the file with growing horror. The Council had known about the swarm. They had tracked it for decades as it consumed outer rim worlds. When it reached human space, the Council had made a calculation. Humans were not yet Council members. They were primitive, aggressive, potentially dangerous. The cost of saving them was too high, so the Council had watched. They had monitored the war, studied the swarm, and let humanity die. They called it an acceptable loss, a chance to learn about the swarm without risking Council species. But then humans had done the impossible. They had survived. 40 years of warfare had not only kept them alive, but had taught them to fight the swarm effectively. Humans had developed weapons and tactics that the swarm couldn't counter. The Council had been terrified. These aggressive Deathworlders had not only survived impossible odds, but had become dangerous in the process. If humans joined the galaxy, they would ask questions. They would demand answers. They would expose the Council's decision to let them die. So the Council had erased them, declared the sector forbidden, told the galaxy that humans had destroyed themselves. Safer that way. No questions, no guilt, no consequences. Hana read the final note in the file. It was from a Council meeting 600 years ago. Human survivors must not be allowed to spread their narrative. Containment is essential. Termination authorized if necessary. She closed the file with shaking hands. Then she heard the alarms. Explosions rocked the medical facility. Hana ran to the human's room. Dune was already on her feet, Teho was checking the door, and Mira's prosthetic eye was scanning for threats. What's happening? Hana shouted. Assassins, Mira said calmly. 12 of them. Military-grade equipment coming from 2 directions. Someone wants us dead. The door exploded inward. Figures in black armor rushed through, weapons raised. They moved with professional precision, trained killers doing their job. But the humans were faster. Dayun moved like liquid death. She grabbed the first assassin's weapon, twisted and used the momentum to throw him into his companions. Teho's cybernetic arm punched through armor like paper. Mira analyzed the attack pattern and directed their defense with cold efficiency. Hana, behind the bed, Dayun ordered. Stay down. The battle lasted 90 seconds. 12 trained assassins against 3 humans. It should have been impossible. But Hana watched as centuries of warfare and augmented bodies turned the humans into something beyond normal soldiers. They didn't just fight. They dominated. Every movement was precise, every strike lethal. They used the environment, each other, and the assassin's own weapons against them. It was brutal and efficient and terrifying. When it ended, 12 assassins lay unconscious or dead. The human stood among them, barely breathing hard. Taiho's cybernetic arm sparked from damage. Dune had a cut on her shoulder that was already healing. Mira was untouched. We need to leave, Mira said. More will come. Whoever sent them won't stop. Velthar appeared in the doorway, his weapon drawn. Behind him were Cross and several crew members. We heard the explosions. Come on, my ship's ready. You're helping us? Dayun asked. The Council just tried to kill you in my station, Velthar growled. That makes them my enemy. Besides, I've grown fond of you violent little Deathworlders. They ran through the station's maintenance corridors. Hana led the way, using her knowledge of the station's layout. Behind them, they heard security forces mobilizing, but Velthar's crew had created diversions throughout the station. At the docking bay, Hana made a decision. I'm coming with you. You don't have to, Dayun said. This isn't your fight. Hana held up her tablet, showing the classified file she had found. The council tried to erase you once. They'll try again. But I'm a Kavesh. We remember everything. We archive everything. Your story deserves to be told. They boarded Velthar's ship and launched before station security could react. As they jumped to faster-than-light speed, Hana sat with the humans in the common area. "The file I found," she said quietly. It mentioned coordinates, something called New Busan, a rally point for human survivors. The three humans looked at each other. Tejo spoke first. That was the plan. If Earth fell, survivors would gather at New Busan, a meeting point in deep space. "Do you think anyone made it there?" Hana asked. Daeun stared out at the stars. "Only one way to find out." Mira pulled up a star chart. "It's 3 weeks from here. Deep in uncharted space, the council will never find us there." "If there's nothing there," Tejo said slowly, "then we really are the last humans in the galaxy. And if there is something there?" Velthar asked from the doorway. Daeun smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. "Then the galaxy is going to get a surprise. Because humans are very, very hard to kill." The ship moved through space carrying its crew of refugees and rebels. Behind them, the council scrambled to contain the truth. Ahead, in the darkness of uncharted space, waited an answer to a 600-year-old question. Had humanity survived? Or were these three warriors truly the last of their kind? Hana looked at the humans, these impossible survivors, these living myths, and realized something. Whether they found others or not, the truth was already free. The galaxy would remember. The Kavesh would make sure of it. And the council would have to answer for what they had done.